You are given that px is equals to this cubic, and you are asked to find the remainder when px is divided by x plus 1. Now, to find the remainder when px is divided by x plus 1, of course you can use long division, but that's very long and time consuming. So the faster way is to use the remainder theorem, which is very easy. You let the divisor, this is called the divisor, you let the divisor be equals to 0 to find out the value of x that you must sub in. So in this case it's minus 1. You sub in minus 1 into all the x and you will get the remainder. That's it. Okay, so this is how remainder theorem is used. Now let me just give you another example. If this is 2x minus, let's say 3, then you will set this to 0, which means the value you must sub in is this. Okay, this is just an example. Alright, because some of you are so used to seeing this, you don't know that the x can be a fraction. Alright. Okay, next question, they want you to show that this is a factor. Now, to show that this is a factor, you can of course use long division and then do the long division and then show that, oh yeah, the remainder is 0, so this is a factor. Okay, but another way is to use the factor theorem, which is actually related to the remainder theorem. Okay, meaning to say that when I set this to 0, I'll get x equals to half, right? So if I would throw this half inside here, sub it inside here, using remainder theorem, I will get remainder 0, right? This is remainder theorem. Okay, but when you conclude after this, you're actually concluding that since the remainder of this is 0 by factor theorem. Okay, so this whole thing is called factor theorem. This one is a factor. Alright, so this is application of remainder theorem. This is application of factor theorem. And finally, the question asks you to hence. Hence means must use this previous part answer. Explain why px it has only one real root. Okay, now what is implied here, they didn't tell you explicitly, that means they never tell you very clearly, but what is implied here, that means they expect you to know is that you must try to solve this px, this one. And in order to solve this px, of course you must factorize it first, right? Okay, so you can press calculator and you will find that the calculator, of course, will give you half as one of the answer because you found that this is a factor already. That's what they mean by hence, you see. So you can say here from part 1, okay, this one is a factor, so you can write this because it's one of the factor, you see. Yeah, so you cannot use any other method to solve. You need to use this factor which you have found in part B because this is a hence question. So that is what this word hence means. You need to use this as your factor to solve this next part. And as mentioned in class, this is a cubic equation. That means the highest power is 3. Lowest power, of course, is x power 0 and the coefficient is minus 1. Now, we always settle the highest power and the lowest power. So the highest power, you must ask yourself, what times 2x give you 6x cubed? Okay, another way to think of it is 6x cubed divided by 2x is equals to what? So it's equals to 3x squared, right? So this means that 3x squared times 2x will give you this. Okay, so always use the highest power term and the lowest power term to help you get the two important ax squared and the c. Okay, the bx later we will find out through comparing coefficient. So number times another number should give you this number. Okay, so if you don't know minus 1 times what give you minus 1, you can take the result, which is minus 1 divided by minus 1, so it's 1, right? 1, you don't write 1, you write plus 1. Yeah, so you just double check that minus 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, now this is in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. So you have to write here bx, but as I mentioned, you can don't use b, you can use m or p, or don't use p because this is p here already, don't use the p, okay? Use any other letter. Then your job now is to compare coefficient in order to find your value of m. Now, I've already used this to find this. I've already used this to find this. So I can now only use this or this coefficient. That means x squared coefficient or x coefficient to find the unknown m. Okay? And I will choose to use x because it's positive. I will try to avoid negative. Alright? But it's up to you. If you want to use negative, you get the same answer. So on my left hand side, I will have 4. This is considered left hand side, this is considered right hand side. On my right hand side, I'll try to get x. Okay, so if I try to combine with this, of course I can't get x. I'll get x cubed. I combine with this, I'll get x squared, so I don't want. That's why I combine with the 1 here. So 2x times 1 is going to give me 2. Okay, then minus 1 times this will give me an x squared term, I don't want that. Minus 1 times this, yes, will give me x term. Okay, and the coefficient is minus m. Okay, sorry, minus m. And from here, you will be able to find that your m is minus 2. And after this step, okay, you need to put equal 0. Many of you in your working, in the work that you handed in, you didn't put equal 0 and then you continue to solve. Cannot. You must put equal to 0. It must be an equation before you can solve it. Otherwise, the only thing you can do is to factorize. Okay, so it must be very clear. Now, after I've done this, true enough, I find that the only root is this 2x minus 1 equals 0, which is x equals to half. This is the only root. Because the other root, okay, when you take b squared minus 4ac, you will find that it is less than 0. It's minus 8, so it's less than 0. That means there's no solution. No solution, okay? So please, don't down here, right? Don't go and waste time. Okay, it's a very long method. Don't go and do this, then go and sub in, then you realize, it doesn't work. They already tell you it's one root and it's this one, and they are asked to explain why. So your explanation is here, using the quadratic, using the discriminant to show that it's less than 0. Okay, but you don't stop here. You must make a final statement because they say explain. So you must explain that, since this one, no real roots, okay, for this equation, for this equation, no real roots, right? This equation, there's one root, so this px equals 0 has only one real root, and the real root is x equals to half.